Imagine a world of plenty, a nation with enough resources to feed every single person, yet where millions still go to bed hungry. This isn't some distant, impoverished land. This is the United States of America in 2024. The latest reports paint a devastating picture. Over 47 million Americans, including more than 13 million children, are living in food-insecure households. This isn't just about poverty. It's a multifaceted crisis fueled by inflation, systemic inequality, and a shocking amount of food waste. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this hidden national emergency to reveal 10 shocking facts that expose the great American hunger crisis for what it truly is, a moral and economic failure on a staggering scale. The numbers are more than just statistics. They represent a harsh reality for millions. Fact 1. The staggering number of food-insecure Americans. The first and most fundamental shocking fact is the sheer scale of the problem. According to the latest USDA and Feeding America reports, in 2024, approximately 47.4 million people in the United States are living in food-insecure households. This means they lack consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. This is a significant increase from recent years, a trajectory that many would not have predicted. When we look at the data, the rise is undeniable. The prevalence of food insecurity jumped from 12.8% of households in 2022 to 13.5% in 2023, and this upward trend is projected to continue. This isn't a problem confined to a few pockets of the country. It's a national crisis affecting every state, every county, and communities of all kinds. The problem is so widespread that roughly 1 in every 7 Americans is currently grappling with the uncertainty of where their next meal will come from. This number is not an abstract figure. It represents parents skipping meals so their children can eat, seniors on fixed incomes choosing between medication and groceries, and students struggling to focus in school because their stomachs are empty. It's a reality that, in one of the world's wealthiest nations, an army of nearly 50 million people are fighting a daily battle just to feed themselves. Fact 2. Inflation's devastating role. The American public has felt the sting of inflation at the grocery store for the past several years, but for those on the edge of food insecurity, it has been devastating. This is the second shocking fact. While overall inflation may have cooled, the price of food remains stubbornly high. The latest USDA data shows that while overall food prices rose by about 2.3% in 2024, prices for certain staples have surged. For example, beef and veal prices have seen a significant increase, rising by over 11% in the past year. This sustained inflation erodes the purchasing power of low-income families at an alarming rate. A modest rise in grocery costs can completely dismantle a family's budget, forcing them to make impossible choices. The national food budget shortfall, which is the amount of money food-insecure individuals need to be food secure, has hit a record high of $33.1 billion. This means that for those struggling, the weekly cost of a single meal has risen to an average of nearly $4, an amount that, while seemingly small sum, can be a major hurdle for families with median annual income of less than $10,000. Inflation doesn't just make food more expensive. It makes a healthy diet an unaffordable luxury, pushing more families into the cycle of hunger. Fact 3. The disproportionate impact on children. The third shocking fact reveals a particularly heartbreaking aspect of this crisis: its profound effect on America's children. Approximately 13.8 million children in the U.S. live in food-insecure households. This means that nearly 1 in 5 children is at risk of not getting the nutritious food they need to grow and thrive. Child food insecurity has been linked to a host of developmental and health problems, from lower academic performance and behavioral issues to increased rates of chronic illnesses like asthma and anemia. Teachers across the country report that a significant percentage of their students come to school hungry, with some studies indicating that 3 out of 4 teachers regularly see students who are not eating enough. These children are more likely to be inattentive in class, more prone to sickness, and struggle with learning, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and disadvantage. The statistics are a stark reminder that while parents often go to great lengths to shield their children from hunger, the reality is that the crisis is seeping into our schools and homes, robbing the next generation of their full potential. Fact 4. The role of systemic inequities. Hunger is not a random affliction. It is deeply rooted in systemic inequities, and this is our fourth shocking fact. Data consistently shows that food insecurity disproportionately affects communities of color. Black households are more than twice as likely to be food insecure as white households, with a rate of 23.3% compared to 9.9%. The numbers for Hispanic households are also alarmingly high at 21.9%. This disparity is a direct result of historical and ongoing discrimination in housing, employment, and education, which has created vast wealth and income gaps. Additionally, single-parent households, particularly those headed by women, face an exceptionally high rate of food insecurity, with 34.7% of these families reporting that they struggle to get enough food. These statistics underscore a painful truth. The hunger crisis is inseparable from the broader issues of racial and social justice in America. It's not merely a lack of food. It's a lack of opportunity and equity that makes it impossible for many to escape the grip of poverty. Fact 5. The epidemic of food deserts. The fifth shocking fact highlights a geographical dimension of the crisis: the rise of food deserts. Millions of Americans live in low-income urban or rural areas that are more than a mile from a supermarket. These communities, often located in the very same areas that have been historically marginalized, lack access to fresh, affordable, and nutritious food. Instead, residents must rely on convenience stores and fast food restaurants, which offer high-calorie, low-nutrient options at inflated prices. This limited access contributes to higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and other diet-related illnesses, creating a vicious cycle of poor health and food insecurity. The numbers are grim. It is estimated that over 23.5 million Americans live in these food deserts, trapped in a system that makes it incredibly difficult to eat healthily, no matter how much they might want to. The scarcity of grocery stores in these areas is not an accident. It's a symptom of a larger problem of disinvestment and neglect. Fact 6. The paradox of food waste. Here's a fact that might be the most shocking of all. America wastes an unbelievable amount of food. The country discards an estimated 120 billion pounds of food every year, which is equivalent to 30 to 40% of the entire U.S. food supply. The monetary value of this waste is approximately $218 billion annually. The irony is staggering. A nation that throws away over a third of its food supply also has tens of millions of people who can't afford to eat. This wasted food often ends up in landfills, where it decomposes and releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, exacerbating climate change. The bulk of this waste comes from homes and retail, often due to confusion over sell-by or best-by dates, which are not indicators of food safety. While food banks work tirelessly to rescue some of the success, the scale of the problem is so vast that it underscores a deep inefficiency and a fundamental disconnection in our food system. We are literally throwing away more than enough food to feed every single hungry person in the country, and then some. Fact 7. Hunger as a public health crisis. The seventh shocking fact is that hunger isn't just a social problem. It's a profound public health crisis with a staggering economic cost. Food insecure individuals are more likely to suffer from a range of health issues, including heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. The constant stress of not knowing where your next meal will come from can also lead to mental health challenges like depression and anxiety. This creates a feedback loop. Poor health makes it harder to work, which makes it harder to afford food, leading to even poorer health. The economic burden of this cycle is immense. A 2015 study estimated that the health-related costs of hunger and food insecurity were at least $160 billion annually. Adjusted for inflation and the growing crisis, that number is now certainly much higher. This cost is borne by the entire healthcare system and, ultimately, by taxpayers. The truth is, investing in food security isn't just compassionate. It's a smart economic decision that could save billions in healthcare expenses. Fact 8. The strain on food banks and the emergency food system. The emergency food system, consisting of food banks and pantries, has become an indispensable lifeline for millions of Americans. However, the eighth shocking fact is that this system is now stretched to its absolute breaking point. Over the past year, as economic pressures mounted, food banks across the country reported record demand. The number of people seeking assistance from food pantries has surged, with many organizations reporting increases of 30% to 50% in the number of families they serve. In some cases, food banks are struggling to keep up, with long lines of cars and empty shelves becoming a more frequent sight. The system was designed to provide temporary relief, not to serve as a permanent solution to a decades-long crisis. The incredible generosity of millions of Americans who donate food and volunteer is what keeps it running, but the scale of the need now far outpaces the available resources. This points to a failure of our social safety net and an unsustainable reliance on charity to solve a structural problem. Fact 9. The shocking number of working poor who are hungry. The ninth shocking fact shatters a common misconception that hunger is a problem only for the unemployed. In reality, over half of the households served by food banks have at least one person who is employed. This is the crisis of the working poor. Many jobs simply do not pay a living wage. The federal minimum wage, stuck at $7.25 an hour, is a tragic joke in the face of today's cost of living. A person earning that wage full-time for a year makes just over $15,000, an income well below the poverty line for a family of three. The average American needs to make over $25 an hour just to afford a modest two-bedroom apartment. This means that millions of people are working incredibly hard, often at multiple jobs, and still cannot make ends meet. They are forced to make excruciating choices between paying for rent, childcare, healthcare, or food. This reality exposes a myth of a strong economy for everyone and highlights the profound wage stagnation and income inequality that is at the heart of the American hunger crisis. Fact 10. The looming threat of policy rollbacks. The final and perhaps most urgent shocking fact is the vulnerability of the very programs that prevent an even greater catastrophe. During the COVID-19 pandemic, expanded benefits from programs like SNAP and the Child Tax Credit provided a critical shield against mass hunger. When these benefits expired, the number of food-insecure families immediately began to rise. The data from 2023 and 2024 is a direct result of these rollbacks. Now, with ongoing political debates about government spending and social safety nets, there is a looming threat of further cuts. Proposals to reduce SNAP benefits or add stricter work requirements could push millions more into food insecurity. This political dimension of the crisis means that the future of hunger in America is not just an economic issue, but a policy choice. We have seen firsthand how effective these programs can be in fighting hunger, and the potential for their reduction is a terrifying prospect that could unleash an even greater wave of need across the country. Conclusion: the great American hunger crisis is not a simple problem, and its shocking facts demand our attention. From 47 million people struggling to find their next meal to the paradox of widespread food waste, the data paints a picture of a nation failing to live up to its promise of prosperity for all.